Hello and welcome everybody to our beautiful show, Laws of Community. Welcome to this week. Our episode is about self-empowerment, just like every other second week of each month. And today we have a guest named Frances Helena, who is going to be joining me here in just a moment, speaking on uh, what it means to her when it comes to self-empowerment and empowering her community. Um, she is a fashion designer. She is a spokesperson for hearing impairments, since she herself is someone who has hearing impairments. So, welcome today here, Frances.
Thank you, Ron. Hi, everybody. Hope you're
Hello, welcome,
well.
viewers. Absolutely. And how is it over there? I know it's just 9 o'clock in the morning for you over there, which is
Actually, you're
awesome,
one
guys.
hour behind. Yeah. Eight.
Oh, you.
It's eight. Yeah, 8:11 in the morning on Friday. Yeah. And I'm in
Oh, wow.
Australia if you're watching in Australia.
Well, Google lied to me. Yeah, because it said it was about to be 9 o'clock.
Oh, that might be
But yeah.
Sydney time. Yeah, I'm in Brisbane.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I didn't really. Probably makes sense. Australia is kind of a good distance. It probably has a good couple time zones. But yes, you're our first guest way on the other side of the world. So it it's nice. We're finally kind of getting more international with who we're having on the show, which is cool. Getting the communities out there, understanding what you guys are, everybody around the world is doing in their community. So thank you for being here. And like I was saying to the audience, what is your take on self empowerment? What does that mean to you?
I think for me personally, being a hearing impaired person, especially now with the pandemic, we've kind of just seen what that's done to people in the disability community. And I guess when we had masks on, we couldn't, being hearing impaired, we're so used to learning how to read people's lips. So it was easier before the pandemic, but then we had to adapt. I guess all of us, no matter if you were hearing impaired or not, or had a disability or not, we all had to adapt in some sort of way. But I think for me personally, it was really about trying to find a way to connect with other people. So I never look at it as like, oh, I have a disability. Like I just do stuff and I just don't let that kind of stop me. Like sometimes it can be difficult. Like if I sit in front of, in a car, for example, and there's somebody in the front seat, like I actually can't hear what they're saying if I'm sitting in the back. But if I'm sitting next to them,
Oh, wow.
I can hear what they're saying. But I think sometimes we also we kind of like I'm also like Filipino, so we are also kind of like point at stuff, but with our mouth. So we would just just point or look at things like that. But I think um, it's basically been everything's now virtual during the pandemic and even up till now. So I think there's been so many ways, everybody's been not just in like group chats, but, actually virtually like how you and I are. So there's been so many different ways to communicate what we do, how we can express ourselves. And especially now, everything, it doesn't really matter about the time difference. Everybody just jumps on, they find a way. So I think it's been really great that way. For people with disability to actually connect just virtually with people that way.
Absolutely. I would say that COVID has both of those. It did a lot on both sides where it caused a lot of issues. Because like with my dad, this is something he was just talking about when we had brunch not too long ago. He was saying how uh, with his hearing aids, like during COVID, it's been terrible for him because everybody with a mask, he can't understand them. And he has been trying to learn to read lips. So it's definitely Something I've been kind of thinking about recently because I'm starting to find myself kind of going deafer, and maybe it's because I blast my music really loud, but like, it's one of those things where a lot of people don't realize that it's really important, that we all at some point end up having hearing um, issues. It's something that we all end up going through at some point in life, and I don't understand why there hasn't been, ASL being, a mandatory teaching, and all these other things, all these uh like braille and all of it. I mean, we all need to learn how to read lips and read sign language and read in braille, because otherwise, you know we're going to lose that connectivity. And especially we can't really rely on the technology nowadays. I mean, we it's definitely helping right now, but at some point, who knows how long it's going to last, or who knows if anything could happen with the technology. So, ultimately, even with the AI, because they're trying to make AI take over doing the live chat inputs and translations and stuff like that for different things. So that AI is going to end up probably having their little glitches in it and messing up different translations at times. So it really is important, and that's awesome that you're speaking about it with others. I saw a post recently. You It was like a video of you and a bunch of other people with different disabilities, and expressing your empowerment with it. So what was it exactly you guys were doing for that? I didn't really catch what it was, like the full gist of it.
Yeah. So during I get so we've been doing what we do. So even though we're a fashion brand, we're really focused on the community, because when we started, we just had nothing to show for, and I really wanted to make it something different because we got selected as a social change brand for New York Fashion Week. So we just did that last month,
Oh,
and
wow.
and then we got asked to do a show in Philadelphia for Black History Month. Well, during that whole time, so we're coming up to
Wow.
a year since we've started all this. And during this time, I've basically found a lot of people from the disability community actually in the fashion industry, whether they're, in a wheelchair, whether they're hearing impaired. But there was just like so many people, especially hearing impaired people, who, just because of COVID had to either change their jobs or, career, whatever it may be, just because
Mhm.
we couldn't, go out and all this sort of stuff, all that sort of thing, lockdown. But it was really, I guess, a way for people to really express themselves. And for me personally, I was at university, so I was studying a master's of public health, and you have to listen really hard if you don't have good quality ears. I've lost fifty
Yeah.
percent in both ears actually a couple of years ago.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had started to get hearing aids in 2018, and for a pair they're about $3,000 Australian. And so we basically, for us, I guess, being in the community, we had started talking to one another and trying to figure out what ways we could actually express ourselves. And for a lot of us, being creative, fashion was basically on the list. Some people that we had were part of our community where, they write books, they sing, they, all that sort of stuff. So it was just another way
That's
to
cool.
come together. But I think it was also, we were just looking at ways how we could help other people who had a disability, because there was just so many of us. And then so some of us
Mhm.
had, just talked about it, come together. But there was a fashion show last year which became a big hit in the States. It's called Runway of Dreams. So they really focus on people with disabilities. And so a lot of them now, like they're just incredible. So a lot of them now are in the modeling industry. It's not like mainstream industry where you have to be 6'11" or whatever it may be, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But like, now it's really focused on people who have a disability are still able to do anything just like people who don't have a disability. And so, they're just incredible. So we've actually, so I know some people will be modeling for them. I know they'll be having another show. I think it's, what is that? May or April? I think it's April. Yeah, April. So they're doing a few things. But we've just been talking to different people, like even all over the world. I know we had another girl from Canada. She just wrote a book about what it means to be hearing impaired. So I think it's just been ways, we're still trying to figure out how we can actually come together, being in different states and different countries and things like that. But with what we've been doing with the fashion brand is that we just take anybody and anybody. So I actually don't put a criteria on it, because I had based all this off some personal experiences in Australia, where you go to an event and they'll say everybody can apply, but you get there and then there's certain, pieces of clothing that don't fit or whatever, even though they said everybody can apply. So once we got selected for New York Fashion Week, I was like, well, how can we make it different? Everybody wants to, whether they're a professional model or not, they want to at least try to be a part of something, especially with the pandemic and whatever's been happening. People had felt so isolated. So it was just another way to try to make people feel included. And so that's what we had been doing with our fashion brand, but not just people who have a disability. We had some people who are victims of domestic violence, people who have been divorced, single mothers, and especially, with mothers in fashion. There's been a thing where, if you're a mother, you can't be a model. Or you look at beauty pageants, for example, they will say, anybody 28. I think the current Miss Universe, she's 28. And so she was basically advocating to not drop the age, extend the age range and try to extend the regulations, because there was things like, oh, you can't be pregnant, you can't have kids, all this sort of stuff. So what we created with our brand is we really made it opened for men and women, of course. And we even have about, I think, 5 people that are under 21. So yeah, it's really not just about people with a disability, but people, I guess, in the community who are really impacting in so many different ways, and who are really trying to just put themselves out there and to say that no matter what they've been through, they can still do something.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that sounds like you've been doing it a lot recently then with that. That's fantastic. Especially, I mean, the fact that you are not just going towards people with hearing impairments. You're also helping others with other disabilities. So, that's really beautiful. And yeah, I didn't realize you couldn't be I never really thought about it, I guess, because I don't watch fashion shows really. But I
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I watched some with my mom here or there or whatever. But I never realized that those regulations were there. I mean, I kind of figured maybe pregnancy would be one of those ones, just because people are weird about pregnant women doing certain things. But, you know, honestly, I think that's just fantastic what all you're doing so far. And how long have you been doing this business for, and doing these different engagements with your community on that extent?
So next week, actually, we'll be coming up to a year since we got selected for New York
Wow.
Fashion Week, and I can't even believe it's been a year. I was like, wow, we've accomplished a lot in a year. When you're organizing it, you're like, yeah, But then when I had to sort of just take time out and think about it, we've actually achieved a lot, because it's not just, you know, uh, just across America. I mean, now we're kind of doing a tour. We're kind of touring the states, actually. We've got another show happening in Tennessee in May with America's Next Top Model, Victoria Henley. She modeled for us in New York. She actually found
Wow.
us, and so now we've become really good friends. So we're doing that sort of
That's
show
awesome.
with her. And then we've been offered to do We're getting sponsored to do Island in October, but we've had people, they just kind of follow us. It's pretty amazing actually. Like one of the girls used to study here. She's from Ghana, so she actually flew from Ghana for New York. We had a
Wow.
family. She's a soccer mom and a makeup artist and a hotel manager, but she's a mom of two boys.
Wow.
Her and her husband and the kids, they flew over from Canada. We had people fly from Wisconsin, Maryland, New York, New Jersey, people from all different backgrounds. I think we had
That's
ages
awesome.
18 to 55. One of our photographers is a retired truck driver. And then another photographer, he just had his 64th birthday yesterday, day before. Yeah. So we're kind of just open and yeah, everybody, we've got people Native American, Caribbean, like you name it. We have pretty much everybody. So it's really about, and it's not just like me, a designer, telling people what to wear. Like I actually, with
Mhm.
our last show in Philadelphia, I basically had a range of different clothing, and I just said to the models, if you guys pick what you want to wear, you let me know, and then. Usually, because for them, usually they're used to being told what to do. So I said, you know what, I really want to make it different and make it more inclusive. So I just let them choose and then I let them style it how they want to wear it as long as they're still wearing the same thing. So they had a lot of fun doing that. So that's the kind of thing that we do. Like it's not just about, oh, we're a brand and then it's a one-time thing. We want people to kind of stay on and still be with us. And even some of our the upcoming shows, we have people from both shows coming for Tennessee, for Island, for whatever else is happening. I don't even know. I kind of don't even know what's happening myself. So yeah, but we still have people following us. So it's really about bringing people together. And a lot of these people have never met each other as well. So for our New York group, we had, I
Wow.
think, 13 people that included our photographers, 3 photographers and 10 models. And they'd never met each other before. And we kind of, started talking virtually and everything. And then, when it came to the show, they just kind of mingled with each other. They made friends with people that they would have never thought to be friends with. So it was really about trying to break the differences of, cultural differences, language barriers, all that sort of thing. So it was really trying to bring people together without having the actual. So yeah, it was really good that way.
That's awesome. Because everything you just said, like I'm listening to it and I'm going, wow. Like I'm glad that I asked you to be on this week because you really everything resonates with what you just said with self-empowerment and what you're doing for others. You're helping them self-empower because you like you said you're like whatever you want to wear, go and put it on, I'm not going to tell you to do it. I want you to wear what makes you feel good. So, that right there is giving them that power of self-empowerment within their own industry that they don't even tend to have. So and like it's kind of weird for me right now. I'm actually starting to tear up a little bit because I'm getting a little emotional because it just
Oh,
I'm thinking the whole time like while you're speaking, I'm thinking like, wow, like you really are somebody that we need for that industry. I mean, we need more people like you out in the fashion industry and in designing of any sort of that management with people the way that you do. Like you manage people is what you kind of do with how they're supposed to look and how they're supposed to walk and whatnot, but you give that to the people. And it's something that acting that their designers, their fashion people, like all of your industry is so huge and amongst so many different industries because there's jumpsuits, there's different things for different
yeah.
industries that you need to wear that you need to have. And before it goes out to that industry to be worn, it needs to be worn by somebody in like putting somebody with the clothes on and just saying, hey, that looks good, is that comfortable, and figuring it out. So we definitely need more people like you that are out there empowering people to feel good in their clothing, feel good in what they're wearing, and to actually feel good just as a human being, because overall what you're doing with your clothing and with the disabilities and stuff, like, it's huge in my mind, because the way that you dress, the way that you walk, it ultimately is how you feel.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
if you dress messy, you feel messy. If you dress nice, you feel nice. If you dress like you're comfortable, you're going to be comfortable. So it really does change your mindset. It really does change the way you are, and how you're empowering yourself throughout your day. So really, like, thank you for what you're doing with your community.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was just,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it was just time for a different change. And there was just a few things. I've worked a lot with refugees and asylum seekers, international students, because up in my hometown, we get a lot of international students that come in. And there was just a big gap between, international and domestic students, and I'm like, what's the issue? And then when they come to me, because we've lived and traveled all over the world. We lived in Mexico, we lived in China, Singapore, that was pretty much my whole life. We just moved everywhere. So for me, it was just so natural to just engage with people regardless of like where they're from and the language barrier. But it's a little bit different here, I guess, in regards to, people, we're so far away between, to get to the States, it takes 2 days. So, it is, even though there's a lot of Australian people that live in the US, but, it's people haven't been exposed to that. And especially even, culturally, like people hadn't really been exposed to other people. They used to just sticking to their own communities. And, that's not their fault at all. That's just what they've been exposed to. So, it's just things
Mhm.
like that in China break that barrier and to just say, it's okay to be different and to think that way or feel that way, but there's also other ways that you can, see different things. And so and it takes time, to actually develop that bond with other people. So yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, thank you everybody that's come onto the show and watched us today. Thank you, Yari and Penny, and all of you viewers who are here watching us, and who have been popping in and out. I've seen a couple of you comment, and thank you for joining us. And so what? So you said it's been a year. You said it's been a year since you were offered for the New York fashion show. So how long have you actually been doing what you're doing though? Like, have you has this been a career that you've been um like that you sought out when you were a kid? What was it when you were a child that you really had as a vision that brought you to where you are today?
Oh, that's a really good one. I think for me, it's been about 10 years. I think since I finally got that title, if you call it, as a fashion designer. I'd always been a creative person, and it was just a thing I knew how to do well, because we basically, having lived and traveled everywhere, I didn't get to go to school all the time. So I was a little bit slow in that aspect. I did go to school maybe for like, I think I did 3 years in Malaysia, and then we moved, and then we moved back
Oh
and did
wow.
another 2 years in Malaysia. And then most of the time, like we lived in Mexico. I didn't go to school there. We lived in China. I didn't go to school there. Where else did we live? Didn't go to school in Singapore. And it wasn't until I think officially came back to Australia, I was about 12 years old. And then I actually went to high school and all that sort of stuff. So I pretty much missed out on primary school. But, my mom and dad, they always encouraged me to read, always, reading books, was always learning about different things and having that exposure to different cultures as well as languages. I think that gave me a little bit of a boost compared to a lot of, people my age. They never lived and traveled anywhere. They never stepped foot outside their own town. So,
Mhm.
they had a completely different mindset to how I was, grew up and everything like that. And I think being, that had also boost my, I think, creativity, because it was just like it's so different, and that's why we've kind of created the line. It's, beautifully diverse fashion, because beauty comes in all different shapes and sizes. It means
Mhm.
it's so different across, different cultures, different parts of the world. Especially now you're getting plus sizes in, the fashion industry. Before people were like, oh, the plus size, blah, 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 blah. But now, people are understanding that being a plus size, it's beautiful. It's, there's lots of, aspects to it in terms of like, the clothing, like, okay, yeah, people, they still do size 0 to 6 and everything. But now we're starting to slowly see a variety of different changes and things like that. Like now you can get the same size 6 dress and you can get it in size 16. So, it's starting to slowly be inclusive that way. So I think for me, it was always kind of like, I think I saw, was it MTV? I think Destiny's Child, and I was like, oh, they look like me. I wanna do
Yeah.
that. Be like, some cameras or something. I don't know, but because they also sing and everything, so we're kind of hoping to
Okay.
go back into that as well. And then,
That's
but I
cool.
think I've always just known how to do technology things, and just always been, revamping and all that sort of stuff. And then I was like, well, it's just natural for me to do. And now having developed a hearing impairment, it was just easier for me, rather than sit and, go to university, even though it's something I want to go back to and finish off. But it was just like, it was just easier, because it was just, I didn't have to listen to people. Fashion changes so much. It's like no one really tells you if you should or shouldn't do that or whatever. You can just create whatever you feel like. So it was pretty much, there was no limit to it. And so I think that was basically the easiest thing for me, rather than sit in a classroom and try to figure out what they're saying. So it was basically, yeah, just something that's always kind of been in me, and now we're kind of here. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I'm glad that I had you on the show this week, and to be able to share your amazing journey, what you've been able to do for your community, and to empower them. So thank you. Uh, do you have maybe any uh,
Oh, you lost for words.
any yeah, do you have any, I lost what I was going to say initially, but do you have any last things you might want to add towards our viewers for empowering themselves, what they should do to uh, get out there and follow their dreams and help their
Yeah,
community?
well, thank you to you and Hannah. I know, yeah, we have been talking about it for a while, but I think the biggest thing I think I can say is that no matter what is happening, like I literally, while I was doing this New York show, had lost my apartment. So I was basically,
Oh wow.
since I've only been back since, I think a week and a half now. So I've just actually moved into a new place yesterday. I'm renting with like a family and everything like that. So, I think no matter what happens in your life, like whether you are like literally at the bottom of the pyramid, whatever it is, you just have to take a risk and just keep going, even though sometimes you're like, oh, how am I going to do this? Even when I felt like that with New York Fashion Week, I was like, I don't know how we're going to do all this. What's this going to cost? All this sort of stuff. And, we didn't have the money at all. So it was basically like we had gotten some support. There was a lady from California, and then there's another lady here in Brisbane. So both of them had helped us, and they had sponsored us. And one of these sponsors are actually staying on, that they've been sponsoring pretty much all our shows for this coming year. And then we've got a different sponsor for Ireland. So, I think no matter what happens, you just have to just keep trying, just keep going. And even there's always going to be people who are like, oh, that sounds crazy. Like, but, eventually it's going to pay off. So, it's taken me literally 10 years now to kind of get this title of fashion designer. So, you just have to keep going. And so, I've even lost some people that I'm close to who have passed away from cancer, and they were around my age. And
Oh,
I was like, before, eventually we're all going to go there. So it's kind of like, you want to make the most of what's happening in your life, and, whatever you've got right now, even if you can't, you don't have the money. Because for us right now, we're doing a lot of, what do you call it? Recycling fashion. So it's basically, I get some stuff from the thrift store and then I just change it up and I do that sort of thing. So, because I was like, I don't
that's
have a
cool.
lot of income coming in like that at the moment, but eventually we're going to do our own line and all this. Well, it is still our own line, but like, produce custom fabric and things like that. But yeah, you just kind of have to make with what you do, really. So yeah, and you just keep going. It's going to be okay.
Well, thank you for everything once again. And I I I honestly I'm speechless. I think it's so empowering. But well, I do appreciate you for being on the show. It has come to the time to end though. So I will be looking forward to connecting with you more. Hopefully, we will definitely connect more outside of this episode. I think it would be great to speak with you more about empowering people with disabilities and stuff like that. That's something that I've looked into. Once I get my businesses off the road, I really want to do that with my whole town idea and everything. I want to be able to build a town one day and collaborate with enough people to build a non-for-profit and end up making sure that there's housing for people with disabilities and elderly, where it's completely, taken care of, so they don't have to worry about ever having to struggle with more than they already are. So um, I would love to definitely keep in contact and
Yeah,
see where the future
definitely.
can
That'll be great.
go. So, but thank you again.
No
And
worries.
I hope
Thank
you have a
you to
good.
you and Hannah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I hope you have a good rest of your day, because I know it's morning for you. But I'm probably gonna get some dinner.
No
So
worries. Thank you to everyone watching.
thank you, everybody. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.